Major loss in the baseball world. Hall of Famer Joe Morgan has died at the age of 77. The legendary second baseman turned broadcaster spent 22 years in the majors. He won 2 MVP awards, 5 Gold Gloves, appeared in 10 All-Star games. Morgan was one of the central pieces of the Cincinnati Reds' famed Big Red Machine that won back-to-back World Series titles in 1975 and 1976, alongside iconic names like Pete Rose and Johnny Bench. After retiring, Morgan moved into the broadcast booth, joining the likes of Bob Uecker and Bob Costas. Earlier today, I spoke with both Johnny Bench and Bob Costas about their memories of Joe Morgan and his legacy. Johnny, let's start with you. We've lost another legend, and you've lost another great friend.
This hit so close to home, and Joe and I were probably as joined together as in almost any Siamese twins. I mean, it just seemed like that when we were on the field, when we were in the clubhouse. Our relationship extended throughout the retirement of baseball until today, and our conversations are always ones about, we talk about the Reds, we talk about baseball, we talk about the Hall of Fame. I mean, Joe was the vice chairman of the Baseball Hall of Fame, but Joe was a player who brought excitement, professionalism, dedication, and his idol was Nellie Fox, and I think right there in Chicago, and I think he always wanted to prove to everybody that size shouldn't matter, and that he was going to play with heart and talent.
When Johnny said that Joe was the best player he ever played with, and consider that Tony Perez, who's in the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose, if not for other circumstances, who obviously would be in the Hall of Fame, Johnny himself, still regarded by many as the greatest catcher ever, and that Joe stands out among them. And Johnny was acclaimed rightly for being one of the most aware players, even as a young player. His head was so in the game. He saw little things that others missed. And Joe Morgan was like that. So I think, Johnny, it wasn't just that you were teammates. I think you were similar in your awareness of the game and your sense of the game.
Bob, for those who didn't get to see him play, probably remember him as a broadcaster. You got to spend a lot of time with him in the booth. He had such a tremendous love for this game and was such an amazing ambassador.
Yeah, he was. He could have managed several clubs. There was interest in that because of his keen intelligence and grasp of the game, but he never wanted to go in that direction. As Johnny mentioned, he was one of the board of directors at the Baseball Hall of Fame. He worked in the front office as an advisor for the Cincinnati Reds. He was an esteemed broadcaster. He did so many things so well. What's interesting about him as a ball player is those who watched his broadcasts in recent years, some chided him because he was resistant to modern analytics, but the modern analytics of baseball actually elevate him even higher. By all the modern statistics, he's even greater than some might have perceived him when he was playing. He's probably the greatest all-round second baseman who played in the second half of the 20th century.
One thing I love about talking with baseball players and broadcasters are all of the stories you guys have. Johnny, take us inside the dugout. Tell us a Joe Morgan story you'll always remember.
In the 5th game of the World Series in 1972, Blue Moon Odom was sent in to pinch run, and he was at third base. There was a pop-up behind first base, and Joe went out and caught the ball, turned and to throw, and slipped, and still threw a perfect strike to home plate, and I tagged Blue Moon out. To this day, Joe still talks about that throw.
Bob, you and Joe spent a lot of time in the booth with Bob Uecker. Do you have any stories that are safe for broadcast?
Well, Game 6 in 1995 between Cleveland and Atlanta in the World Series, and Joe was telling about his own World Series experiences, and that, of course, included Johnny Bench and Sparky Anderson and Pete Rose and Tony Perez. And so then I turned from Joe, first ballot Hall of Famer, 2-time MVP, all-time great, and I turned toward Uecker, lifetime batting average exactly 200. And I said, Ueck, did you ever play in the World Series? And he said, well, I was with the Cardinals in '64, but when we played the Yankees in the series, I was on the disabled list. I said, what was wrong with you? He said, I had hepatitis. I said, how did you get that? He said, the trainer injected me with it. So I guess the reason that threesome worked was that one guy was famous for futility. The other guy was famous for being one of the best ever. So there you go.
2020 has taken a lot from us. Tom Seaver, Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, Joe Morgan, Whitey Ford, Al Kaline. Let me start with you, Johnny. Put into perspective what these losses mean to the game.
I admit I cried. I've cried 4 or 5 times so far because I've lost people not only that I admired and respected, but the type of person that they were and the way I felt about them after being around them in the Hall of Fame.
Baseball is not the only thing, but it's one of those things by which people mark time. And when we experience passages like these, it reminds us both of our youth and simultaneously of our own mortality.
Well, we couldn't ask for 2 more knowledgeable baseball fans and friends to join us to talk about Joe Morgan. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.